How about a huge Alberta welcome for the one and only Tucker Carlson.
Hey everybody, this is Marcel with Irnieracing YouTube channel. Before we leave our boondocking site, we're all packed up. We're gonna watch the 25-minute bit opening for Tucker Carlson in Calgary, Alberta. Okay guys, let's take it away.
Holy smokes! Thank you. I'm really honored. I think that's my friend Kid Rock in the background. Thank you truly for having me. Wow, that was the wildest intro I've had ever. And so he comes to the United States, and I'm here as a result. So I feel it. In me is Canadian, and I've been all over your country, and I've been everywhere in your country, and I just think it's a remarkable place. And I think people don't quite understand what Canada is because so much of it is bumped right up against our border. And I would argue, no offense, that the least impressive places in Canada are right up against our border. But once you get past that, it's just unbelievable. I've been to this city a lot because of your mountains, which I just find beyond belief. Really, the prettiest places I've ever been. This country is the prettiest country I've ever been in. The second biggest country in the world, bigger than the United States, deeper oil reserves in the United States, more natural resources in the United States, and 1/9 the population.
That's right guys, Canada, we have massive amounts of resources. Yet we don't use any, just like the United States, just like California. No, we're gonna just buy our reserves, buy our oil, buy our gas from polluting other countries. And we're back. Sorry about that wind noise, let's hope it's better.
And they always have the same responses. We've had electricity for a long time, eh? Like, no, it's a joke. You don't really have sled dog parking in front, I know that. No, we haven't had sled dogs in a long time, eh? And so, I just love it. I've told so many sled dog and Molson jokes, it's just, and I'll never stop. But one of the reasons I do it is because I do think it's important to, who supports this guy, he's so, I mean, I know him only, I've never met him, I only know him through television. I know his cousin Gavin Newsom pretty well, but I don't know him. Is there anyone who takes him seriously? And everyone in the room said, oh, yeah. Young people, particularly young women, take him very seriously. They love him. And I thought, there's really only one way to combat that, and that's by pointing out what an absurd poser this guy is. He's like a ridiculous figure. Like, you should dislike and resist Justin Trudeau and his government to the maximum extent of your ability. But before you do that, you should just, like, speaking as some sort of moral voice.
Just imagine right now as we are all watching Tucker talk about Trudeau. Trudeau's probably watching it too. He's sitting in his little cottage somewhere and just like watching Tucker and be like, Pretty much. Yeah.
Weird little cross-dresser. So anyway, that's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice, once you've done that, which is very effective, and I know it's not the Canadian way because it's such a polite society that everyone feels morally bound to take everyone else's point of view very seriously and sort of nod gravely and pretend to consider their perspective. But there are some perspectives that aren't in fact perspectives, they're attacks on you. And that's the main thing that I want to say in the short time allotted today, is that you should recognize what is happening to you. This is not a political debate to which you've been invited to participate. This is a destruction of you in Canada. I'd bet right around 100%. So if you're a government, you have the duty to your citizens, people who are from here, people whose ancestors built the place, not exclusively to them, but primarily to them, to your citizens. Like, why else do you exist except to serve your citizens? And if you're targeting your citizens, how many people who arrived in Canada in the last 10 years have opted into the MAID program? I don't know the answer. I'd bet around 0. It's all people who are from here. And now the government brags, oh, we're saving money because they died. That's the darkest thing I can imagine. I bet there's 0 conversation about that in this country because I know this country and I know what it's like. It's too horrible. No one wants to talk about it. You should talk about it. But more than anything, you should internalize the message of that, which is they hate me. They hate me to the point they're willing to kill me, which they are. And the third thing is, notice the erosion of your most basic civil liberties, not the ones granted to you by the crown, but the ones granted to you by God. And those would include the freedom of speech, which is inalienable, It cannot be taken from you no matter who is in Ottawa, or as we say, Ottawa, which, by the way, is the correct pronunciation according to my friends in the Ojibwa community.
And unfortunately, it's true. Our freedom of speech has been taken from us. The Canadian Charter of Rights, section like 2B, 2C, 2D, our right to freedom of press, our right to association, and our right to peaceful assembly have all been taken away. And unfortunately, we don't have a solid constitution such as the United States with the First and Second Amendment. You know, we don't have any protection of our guns. Trudeau has come after all guns, all farmer guns, all hunter guns. He's censored the internet. He's censored the algorithms of the internet. Nothing off the top of my head, just non-stop, guys. To be continued.
I've pronounced it that way every time on television, and I get all these angry, you're pronouncing it incorrectly. You don't even know the name. It's like, yeah, I know a lot about Canada. I'm doing it on purpose to make fun of you so you will laugh, but you won't. And then this Ojibwa leader writes in and he goes, yeah, all the whites are wrong. It's actually Ottawa. Go Ottawa! Anyway, it doesn't matter who's in the Prime Minister's office. Your rights remain the same because you were born with them, because you are not a slave, you're a human being, and you have inherent dignity because God made you. That's just a fact. And if they're taking those rights away piecemeal and doing so in the name of public safety, even as they make the public sphere much more dangerous, which they have, in case you haven't noticed, Canada has a lot more violent crime now than it did 20 years ago. Have you noticed? Of course you have. You live here. And they're telling you you can't.
Of course we have. In the last year and a half, I've had 4 attempted robberies on the RV, the generator, the dirt bike straps, anything and everything. My shoes, my sandals. I had a guy steal my sandals off the back of the camper in Kelowna, guys. Oh yeah, and then the lights off of the bicycles, because he couldn't steal the bicycle, so then he steals your headlights off the bicycle.
That was in Seashell.
In Seashell, yeah, on the island. And of course, can't steal a dirt bike, so I'm going to try to steal the giant loop bags. I'm going to try to, I'm going to steal your flashlight. I'm going to try to steal your saw. It just never ends. Never ends.
Defend yourself against that crime. We're going to disarm you. You can't protect your life or your family. And you're like, oh yeah, it's for the public safety. It's just not a big deal. These are weapons of war. No, they're weapons of self-defense, which you need and deserve as a free person, not a slave. And then they're telling you, you can't complain about it. And then they're subsidizing the media to the point where all of your big media outlets, which are disgusting, are state media because they're taking state cash. Do you watch CBC? I do, occasionally. I can turn in any hour of the day and I will learn that I am racist for driving an SUV and not being trans. That's the whole schedule of CBC programming. But interpret that. That's not woke. Oh, it's woke. I hate the woke crap. It doesn't mean anything. They hate you. That's what they're saying. They're saying that you are bad. That's exactly what they're saying. Don't lie to yourselves. That's all I'm saying. And we're very delusional in the United States because we're so distracted by stuff and electronic devices and the promise of next day delivery from Amazon of brightly colored plastic crap made in China that we tend to be slow to figure out what's going on. But Canada has a different restraint, which is a cultural one. It's an Anglo-specific, Anglo-cultural one, which is just like, I don't want to deal with that. That's too uncomfortable. But in your heart, anyway, even if you voice it to no one but yourself, know what the message is. And the message is, you are bad. I mean, I'm going to say the most controversial thing ever. I watched when Montreal was cleansed of its Anglo legacy. And I'm not anti-French, just for the record, at all. But I am Anglo, and I had friends in Montreal. And in the span of a generation, like, that's all gone. They were forced out. And they were like, okay, I guess we'll go to Ontario. What? My grandfather built the city. I'm not going anywhere. How about that? That never occurred to anyone. Because no one could say out loud what was actually happening. This was a series of acts of hostility aimed at you because of things that you didn't choose, like how you were born. And once you will keep allowing that, you have no future, okay? So if they're limiting your freedom to say what you think, which is the freedom of conscience, the most basic of all freedom, your freedom to defend yourself and your family against bodily harm, which has got to be a twin to the first one. If they're taking away your voting power by changing the population of your country, which they are doing, and no one wants to talk about that, Canada has the highest immigration rate in the world per capita. And shut up, racist! That's not racist. I don't care if they're coming from New Zealand. I don't care if you're taking the population of Stockholm and moving them to Canada. If you change the population of the country, you change the country. And you dilute the voting power of the people who are vested in that country.
Yeah, his target was 500,000 immigrants every year for the next 5+ years, for the next, as long as he lives. But on top of that, it's actually been more than double that, because we've had all of them coming through Roxham Road from the upstate New York into Quebec, and literally they were stopping journalists on the Canadian side from even getting within a couple kilometers of Roxham Road. So because they don't want anybody filming it. So there's actually journalists from Rebel News that went to the US side and could film it from there, where the buses and the vehicles and taxis and Ubers were dropping all of the migrants off who just migrated into the US and then or continue to migrate into Canada. Actually, the US states were shipping them up, like, because New York, they come, but we don't want you, so just go to Canada. And off they go.
People who are born there, who have lived there long term, who understand the history and the culture of the country, who are bought in. And all of a sudden, their vote means much less. It's math. You guys do that. Math. That's horrifying that this is happening. And there's no public debate over it whatsoever. Why do you think that's happening? Is it for economic reasons? I'd be kind of okay with that. If someone could stand up and say, we're totally changing the population of Canada because we think it's better for our economy. Okay, tell me how. We can have rational conversations. We're adults. I'm a citizen. This is my government too. Tell me how that works. But they can't, because that's not true. Look at your housing prices. Look at the strain on your services. Look at your healthcare system, which no Canadian I meet brags about anymore. And one of the main reasons is it's overburdened. There are too many people. Oh, we need population growth. Really?
Yeah, it's really true. The Canadian healthcare, I used to 15 years ago, back in 2014, it'll be like, yeah, I like our free healthcare, right? Until you actually need it. And once you actually get in the system, like you got a broken back, you got back pain, you need surgery, you need an MRI on your knee, etc., etc. And it's just been getting worse and worse, essentially, over the last 10 years to now. If I need an MRI in my back, you first of all got to find you got to find a family doctor, and most people don't have family doctors anymore because there's no doctors available. And my family doctor that I grew up with as a kid, his name was Dr. Eliason, fantastic doctor. He was at my birth in the hospital, Kelowna General even. And, he came there because he has more expertise than the people they were actually, dealing with the issue of the birth. And then by the time I was like 15, 16, 17, 20 maybe, he retired, and nobody could take his patients. There was normally a doctor could sell their business. Here is my 200 revolving patients. It's for sale. Somebody's going to pay them for it. No, they just have to walk away, and we all have no family doctor. And it's just such a joke. So anyways, otherwise you're going to walk-in clinics and huge waits with a person who has no idea of any of your history and doesn't really care about your history. They're just clocking the money. Oh, another $200, another $150. And then you got to try to tell them, hey, I need an MRI, I need a CT scan. You got to be your own manager. You got to force them to do what you want, and you have to go and do all the research on the internet and talking to your friends and family and try to run into a doctor in the beach somewhere in Mexico and get oh, this is what you should be doing. Or you'll find the research on YouTube as well for different types of microsurgeries, etc., that aren't even available in Canada. And when you ask the doctor in Canada about this microsectomy surgery for my disc on my back, he's doesn't even know what you're talking about, because they don't even research out anything of that what they're essentially told. They're on guidelines, and they're on prescription guidelines. Yeah, and you could get into the whole thing, and we'll get a medical misinformation strike on this, right? You have the YouTube is controlling what the doctors can say on YouTube. It's all about the pharmacy, because the pharmaceutical companies and Google are in complete cahoots.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too I find is healthcare for your teeth, dental care, eye care, it's not covered. It's not free. I guess they don't consider that health concerns.
It's very limited. Yeah, so your free healthcare is just poor healthcare, meaning poor quality healthcare. So I was considering, like, all of my back, maybe I should go to the States and purchase a surgery for $10,000 on my back. That's not available. Or I could go out to Australia, or I could get it in Thailand, or maybe Mexico. A lot of actually like British doctors, ones from the UK and stuff, are actually living in Thailand and offering the surgery, but you're not actually having a Thai doctor. It's actually like British doctors or people they've moved there and taken their ability their expertise with them, and then you can get it at a more affordable house price, because the hospital that they work in, they're renting the space, they're renting the surgical care, everybody's sharing it. It's much more affordable.
They don't have as many regulations either. Like doctors here are so regulated that you can't do what you really want to do.
Yeah, for sure. So anyways, all my health concerns, I realize like the doctors, the system is a freaking joke. And anytime I get injured, you really need to triple think about, is it worth it going to the hospital? And then during the COVIDism, it was a whole nother level. You're like, are they going to kill me if I go there? And we all know what I'm talking about, guys. All right, back to the regular scheduled program.
Tell me why. Tell me why all of these slogans make sense. I watch Canadian hockey from time to time. They literally say diversity is our strength before they open the game. Okay, what does that mean and why is it true? Shut up! No, I'm not going to shut up. You're telling me to accept a slogan, so it's incumbent on you to explain what the slogan means and why it makes sense. That seems like a common sense rule. If you're forcing something down my throat, tell me how it tastes before I swallow it. Oh, shut up, racist. No, not going to. Not racist. I'm not going to shut up. Answer the freaking question, you weird cross-dressing Prime Minister. And the last thing I'll say, and I will stop at this because I'm sure I've gone beyond the time allotted. Keep going! I'm out of control! Unleashed in Canada! The last thing I'll say, which also may be controversial because it sounds like a parochial concern or some sort of, weird religious thing or something, and it's not. But take a look at what they're doing to your Christians. And I say this for a couple of, I am a Christian, but that's not why I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this because there's kind of no more inoffensive and peaceful group in the world than the Christians. In fact, there isn't. Their religion tells them, commands them to turn the other cheek and to put the concerns of others above their own concerns. So if you have a problem with those precepts, explain it to me. Speak slowly so I can understand. I think every person in this room, regardless of your faith, can agree, yeah, I'm for that. I wish I was more like that. That's good. We need more of those people in society. Serve others for the sake of service. People who pray for their enemies. Who does that? Who would pray for an enemy? No one, except the Christians, and they do. They're commanded to. So if you're hassling that group, maybe you've got another agenda that we should be concerned about, even if we're not in that group. If we burn 90 of their churches to the ground, and the Prime Minister and his little weird buddies are endorsing that, burning churches, if you're on the side of burning churches, let me just say, I don't need any other facts of the case, you're on the wrong side. If you're throwing preachers in prison for preaching the Christian gospel, not for hurting anyone, not for making pipe bombs, not for trying to castrate other people's children, not for importing millions of people into your country who are not going to have work, just for the crime of preaching the Christian gospel, you go to jail at the same time when they're encouraging your kids to do drugs, and not just fentanyl, but weed. Don't raise your hand if you have a 15-year-old son, but come up to me after and tell me what you think of legalized weed. For real. And if you have a 15-year-old son, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They did that to you and to your son on purpose. And so in a country like that, in a world like that, if you think that preaching the gospel is so dangerous that the people who do it need to be in prison in shackles, you're serving someone other than the people of Canada, if you know what I mean. That's really scary. And I don't care how much they dress it up in the passive-aggressive self-help language of the modern left. Well, it's really about public safety. Every time I turn on your freaking television shows, everything's about public safety, which is a euphemism for hard-edged fascism, actually. And frankly, I'm a little bit more comfortable with the old-fashioned variety, where guys in tight uniforms goose-step through your town, because at least you know who you're fighting. And you know what it's going to take to liberate your town. Get rid of these people and everything will be okay. But when they show up and they're therapists with advanced degrees, and they look at you in the face and say, no, actually, little Dylan just needs more fentanyl. Little Dylan's actually a girl. And we're gonna, yes, he's a girl. Sorry, she's a girl. She's a girl. And if you don't agree, well, maybe we may have to remove Dylan to more care-affirming custody. Oh, you're gonna take my kids away because I don't want to castrate them. They'll never say that, of course. Because clear language is their enemy. Because clear language exposes who they really are. They're not people who are trying to help you. They are people who are trying to hurt you. Anyone who goes after your children, anyone who encourages you to have fewer children, is trying to make you extinct. It's literally that simple. And it's only in the advanced West that we don't see that. Try that crap in Bulgaria. Try that in Serbia. How do you think that would fly in Serbia? We're just going to give little Voldak some fentanyl. And we think, you know, he may be, you wouldn't even get to the next sentence before you got shot. Because you're trying to kill someone's kids. And your average Serb, whatever you think of them, doesn't have generations of therapy talk that acts as a logical intermediary in his brain and prevents him from seeing what's actually going on here. They're trying to kill my kids. I'm the father. I won't allow it. I'll lay my life down to prevent it. It's literally that simple. So I'll stop with this. The answer, before you take any sort of action or imagine that some election is going to fix things, comma, which it's not, spoiler alert, because this country, like every country, very much, and maybe especially including my country, has a lot of frauds in that business. Sorry, it does. I would know. It's the one thing I know a lot about. Before any of that takes place, you need to change inside. Your attitudes need to change. And your timidity needs to be replaced by bravery. The muddled thinking that you have about this stuff, the average normal Canadian, just like the average normal American, sees this stuff pop up on his phone or he's on X and he's like, I can't believe it, the world's going to hell. But it's scattershot. There's one here, one there, one there. No, it's not scattershot. It's of a piece. It's of a piece. They're all connected. And it's aimed at you. And if you don't agree, tell me how I'm wrong. But I'm not wrong. I'm right. And so the first thing that you need to do before changing anything in your country is to change everything about your heart. You have to be ready for a contest where the stakes are existential, which they are. And with that, I will stop. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Tucker, for visiting Calgary. It'll be interesting to see as you continue your tour to Edmonton, and I'm not really sure what he's doing after that. Well, we're going to head her to town. We got some chores to do, but that was Tucker Carlson, guys. That's it. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and share these videos, guys. Let's help beat that CensorTube algorithm, Justin Trudeau censorship.